So this one says, advances in photocopying technology allow criminals with no printing expertise to counterfeit paper currency. Okay. I'm like, I want this technology. I would like, I'm all about, like, I'm a very moral person, but I love the challenge of like trying to do something. And I'm like, oh, I would totally want to try to make counterfeit money, like just to see if I could do it. Anyways, one standard anti-counterfeiting technique, microprinting, prints paper currency with tiny designs that cannot be photocopied distinctly. I'm like, okay, so this is how we go against this. Although counterfeits of microprinted currency can be detected easily by experts, such counterfeits often circulate widely before being detected. Okay, that makes sense. Like, it's like people just aren't checking for these things. An alternative, though more costly printing technique would print currency with a special ink. I'm like, ooh, okay. Currency printed with the ink would change color depending on how ordinary light strikes it, whereas photocopied counterfeits of such currency would not. Because this technique would allow anyone to detect photocopied counterfeit currency easily, it should be adopted instead of microprinting despite the expense. All right, so Lindsay, what's our conclusion here?
That using the costly ink should be adopted instead of microprinting.
Yes. And Iman, what is part of the argument is despite the expense?
Despite the expense. Oh, I'm sorry, could you say that again?
Yeah, what kind of part of the argument would despite the expense fit in? Like, what would we call that? It's not, it's not a trick question, but it's not, it's just like a review question.
Despite the expense.
Why do we include that? What, does anybody know? Brittany, what do you think it is?
A concession?
A concession, yeah. This is just a really good example of a concession. And so just an example here of just, this isn't like a huge thing, but a minor thing. Whenever we have a concession in a strengthen or weaken question, one way to strengthen an argument would be to show like why this concession doesn't really matter. Or one way to weaken the argument would be to expose the concession as well. So like, I would say, so if I'm going to strengthen this, I would say that the expense to print this would be covered by the money that we put into like trying to track it down. Like it would be made up. Like I would show why that expense doesn't matter. Or if I'm going to weaken this, I would say the expense to print this money like wouldn't be made, like it wouldn't help us stop enough people to be worth it. That's just one example here. But it's okay if you didn't come up with that either. So how would you, what were our ideas here of how we would strengthen this, of like why we should use this new way instead of the old way? What was your prediction, Lauren?
I did it the opposite way accidentally, like I was trying to weaken it. Yeah.
Okay, well now you're on the spot. How would we strengthen it?
You would strengthen it by saying, like what you said, like that despite the expense, it would be like you could make up the money.
Yes. Did anybody, Sabrina, what was your prediction?
So I had the same thing actually. Like I was like the expense part, the concession was like kind of what I went to. But I guess another way you could do it would be just, I don't know, attack the other alternative, which would be the.
Ooh, I like that. Another
reason why that way sucks.
Yeah, I like that. Malika, what did you say?
I said that for strengthening it, that the like ink wouldn't be able to be like obtained by anyone other than the government.
Oh, I like that, that the ink, like they couldn't get the ink to do this. Excellent. Oh, another one would be people would actually check or notice it. Because because that was one of the issues of the other one is people don't notice it in time. Like people would actually notice this one. Excellent. So let's go ahead into the answer choices. And go ahead and put your answer in the chat. All right, so we're trying to strengthen this idea that we should use this micro printing despite the expense. So why is E wrong, Brittany?
Because I'm trying to support that we should be doing the other method, the one with the special ink. So I don't really care that they don't have access to the photocopiers, really.
Yeah, that's like just because, and like, what does many mean?
More than 50%.
No.
I don't know. More
What-
than 51%.
Most is more than 50%. Most has MO. More than 50% has MO. Many is like more than one, I think. Like it's mild. Like many means many things. So like many like could be 2, many could be 3, many could be 4. I've recently started saying more than one, where some is at least 1, many is more than 1. I used to just say many means many things though, but it's not near as strong as most. It's kind of like several. Like what does several mean? So this isn't good. Sabrina, why is D wrong?
I mean, do we care about the accomplished by master engravers?
Yeah, like do we
I don't know.
do we care what happened before this existed? No. All right, why is C wrong? I think this one was either Lindsay or Malika. I forget who.
I think you gave it to me.
All right, Malika, why is this one wrong?
This one kind of strengthens, not right, it weakens why the ink should be used instead of microprinting, but we also don't really care about the fewer steps.
Yeah, we don't know if fewer steps is good or bad. Like I would rather take 10 easy steps than 3 hard steps, right?
Mhm.
Like I would rather take 10 steps walking down the street than doing the AA steps. Like those are hard steps, right?
Mhm.
Excellent. And then why is B wrong, Lindsay?
Broadcasting the anti-counterfeiting techniques shouldn't really matter because like any criminal who's counterfeiting money should know that the police have methods to determine if it's real or fake.
Yeah, and this is saying for any counterfeit technique, it's like that's not promoting one over the other, right? That's just saying in general. All right, and then Lauren, why is A correct?
A is correct because one of the last sentences says because this technique would allow anyone to detect photocopied counterfeit currency easily, and that's what 8 relates to.
And depends on counterfeits by experts, the cost of inspection by experts.
Because if anyone can do it, you're not going to need the expense of experts doing
Oh,
it.
yes, because we don't need to be an expert. Yes, it's this is actually putting the other technique down. So it's like denying that other one and to promote us. Excellent. Yes.